Welcome to HR Voices, real talk with people leaders who are in it every day. We get into the messy stuff, the challenges that keep them up at night, and how they're actually fixing them. No corporate fluff, just smart conversations for people who care about people. HR Voices is brought to you by All Voices, the platform that cuts hours of manual HR work with step-by-step workflows and AI to assist with investigations, performance improvement, accommodations, leave requests, and more, so you can get back to the human side of HR. Welcome to HR Voices by All Voices. I'm your host, Emily Fenech, and today I'm joined by Maral Kazanjian, the Chief People Officer of Moody's. Welcome, Maral.
Hey, Emily, it's great to be with you.
Yeah, thank you for coming here. Maral, for most people, I think Moody's is a household name, but just in case folks are joining us today and they haven't heard of Moody's, could you give us a little bit of context about the organization, some background, and who are the people working at Moody's?
Amazing. Thank you for asking that. So Moody's is a 115-year-old company. We have two operating divisions. We have 14,000 employees across 44 countries, and we serve really two primary purposes. One, historically, our credit rating agency is the predominant voice on credit risk. And then we have this teenager, which is our Moody's Analytics business, which serves the entire market in, frankly, unlocking all kinds of business risks and opportunities. And principally, Moody's Analytics, which is our fastest growing business, serves banks, insurance companies, corporations, governments, asset managers. And what we're trying to do is help them understand the risks incumbent in their business so that they can unlock the opportunities associated with those risks and not fall into the traps of those risks.
Awesome. So, what is the biggest challenge that you and the Moody's workforce is facing in this moment?
Yeah, so it's amazing. About 2 years ago, we started on this journey. One of the things is we talk about risk being exponential, and the Moody's workforce is really a very highly educated group of smart people trying to solve big problems through a lot of data and facts. So it's very unashamed nerds that I'm so proud to be a part of. And some of the challenges that we're trying to solve, they're getting more and more complex as the world gets more and more complex. And so we've been on a little bit of a shopping spree buying different kinds of modeling and information firms to really try to round out all of the raw data. And about 2 years ago, as LLMs proliferated in the world, what we realized is that's actually an unlock for us. And we can use LLMs to deliver more information and insights to our customers through all the underlying data and models that we have. And so we have been on a real rapid journey to modernize and evolve using initially LLMs and now agentic AI to really power our business and to deliver better, faster, more insightful information to our customers.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the amount of data that you guys must be working with is probably an AI nerd's dream. Yeah. But yeah, that's fascinating. So that's sort of AI to improve the customer experience. How are your employees using, particularly within the people team, how are you guys using AI in your day-to-day roles, not just for the product, but for you as employees of Moody's?
So this is something that I'm super excited and super passionate about, Emily. Starting that 2 years ago, looking back, our company really decided to think differently about how we can use AI and this technological innovation as an unlock for our people as much as for our customers. And so in 2023, and there's a Harvard Business Review on this, what we did was we said, we're going to have a learning campaign, a reward campaign, and a use campaign to make normal the use of LLMs in everything we do. And so we did a huge learning journey, and we actually bonused people on participating in that learning journey, which got people interested and excited. And then they started using it and they realized that actually can save me time. And so I don't have to spend a ton of time writing a job description or doing a market mapping. Something else can do it for me, and I can spend time delivering value to my customer, whether I'm a business partner or I'm a compensation expert or I'm processing a transaction. And so we've been incorporating that in how we do business. And now when we look ahead, we're saying, okay, there's different tech tools, right? There's bots, there's language learning models, and now there's this thing called agents. And our next phase of learning is coming, because now we can really do a huge unlock and think about the workforce not just as people, but as people powered by digital workers. And there's even more work that those digital workers can do with a lot of high quality, so that it can unlock people to do the things that the people are the best at doing that we don't want technology doing, like emotional intelligence, exercising judgment, being agile about priorities. And so we're very excited about this next phase that we're entering into, because we think the people team is going to sit really at an important inflection point with our tech team in delivering the technology, but also putting the power in people's hands and really reimagining how work gets done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice transition to another question I was really excited to ask you about. So about a month ago, I the LinkedIn algorithms, delivered to me a job description from Moody's. This is before I had met you and before we had this conversation planned, but I saw a role you had open for the head of AI Workforce Enablement, reporting into you, I presume, on the
Yes.
people team. Job posting, it's rare a job posting goes viral, but that was viral because I think it got a lot of people really excited. It's one thing to talk about prepping your workforce for AI. It's another thing to see that written out as a leadership role on paper. So I'm so curious if you could tell us about that role, how that came to be, how that was created.
Yeah. So I'm a Gemini, and I'm really bad at being mono in what I do.
Hmm.
And as I saw sort of this agent thing happening, I had the benefit of my colleagues in the business coming to me and saying, "Hey, we're going to use agents for this. Hey, we're going to use agents for this. Hey, here's how people teams are thinking about supporting businesses using agents." And I sort of went into a rabbit hole of my own journey, and I met with the CHRO of ServiceNow, and I met with the CHRO of IBM, and I participated in a number of panel discussions. And I wrote sort of my mission statement to my boss saying, "Hey, I think there's a really valuable role for the people team to play in bringing the workforce in a positive way on this agentic enablement journey." And I just wrote out like, "Hey, here's the things I think we can do. I think we can turn workforce planning into something dynamic and powerful, not something scary and negative. Here's how I think agents can help us, like, take grunt work off of people's plates and let them do the things they're passionate about, which is interacting with other people." And amazingly, he said, "I agree with you." And he let me put this job description out there. And I said, "This is what I think it looks like. I think we have to operate really in close partnership with our tech colleagues and our risk colleagues. But I think we can do something really special and turn this away from that, like, the bots are going to replace the people conversation, to a conversation of, we're going to power people and we're going to power our business and our talent so that we can do 10x what anybody else can do." And so I'm really excited to say we have made our hires. We've built a tiny squad. It's like a 3-person squad. My team member's starting next week. She's joining us from Microsoft. She's super experienced in this space. And I just think the sky's the limit on how we can help our people. And I'm really, really excited about it. I'm so grateful that you got excited about it too.
Yeah, I did. I can't wait to meet her when she gets started. I hope you'll introduce me
You'll
because
definitely have to meet her.
I would just love to hear how that person is creating that space, powering those people up. Some of my favorite parts of the job description were it's everything from the talent strategy to make sure that you're attracting people who want to leverage AI, the learning and the upskilling, the workforce planning that you already mentioned, then also like the governance and ethics to make sure it's used responsibly and in places where Moody's wants it to be used and not in places where you don't. Could you talk to me a little bit more about that piece of the role or that piece of your role?
Yes. And I love both points that you mentioned because one, what you really just hit on, Emily, is sort of the cultural evolution of the company. And, like I started out saying, we're a 100-year-old company, but we are in a very dynamic inflection point. And what that requires is really thinking differently about what got us here probably won't get us to the next place. And so we have to evolve and change and just being really transparent and positive about that can be a great thing, not a bad thing. I think we have to own. And so driving that culture change is going to be a big part of the journey. But also, we are partly a regulated business. We have a duty, we have a social responsibility to, frankly, humanity. And that sounds really big and audacious, but I believe it because we're setting a tone for what it means to responsibly have this powerful technology serve everyone. And I do think we have a duty to draw the parameters the way we think is appropriate. And so we have to decide early days, obviously working with our colleagues across the company. Like, I sort of want AI to process transactions. I do not want AI to have really important career conversations or figure out like what is going to drive a business to success. There's going to be, just like there's a role for live training and virtual training, same's going to be true here, right? There's going to be things that technology you want to do, but there's things that you want people to do that only people should do. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to be very focused on getting very clear about that delineation. And of course, making sure we're not fueling these tools with information that is dangerous, inaccurate, and creates bad, incorrect outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
That's
think
what we're
that's a
thinking about
balance.
it.
Yeah, and I just think it's great too. I think the number one thing I liked about it was that this role could easily have sat on the tech team, but it's sitting on the people team because I think what people leaders like yourself are really good at is that balance between not police, like enabling people while also
Yeah.
keeping the boundaries very clear. Because that's a balance, right? If
Yeah.
you go too far in one
Totally.
direction, you're policing people and innovation suffers. But if you go too far in the other direction, you're creating a ton of risk that you don't want for your business. And Moody's knows a lot about risk. So I just feel like people teams are great at walking that line and creating that balance.
I love that you say that because I feel like I am constantly bouncing. You have a great pulse on what HR leaders are thinking about because that is very much what I'm thinking about. And I'm lucky I have a tech partner who's also pretty dynamic about thinking about that balance. But I do think it is a unique skill because we have the luxury of being able to look at both sides and say, everything is a calibration of risk, right? If you do something, there's a risk. If you don't do something, there's a risk. Gosh, it seems like in this moment in time, doing nothing is not a good idea. So, how do we enable you to do something that is positive?
Hmm. I remember the first time I learned that lesson. Like, there's the ROI, but then there's also the cost of doing nothing, and that can almost be as
Totally. I
powerful.
would love it. When did that happen for you?
I'm a marketer. And so, oftentimes, people will ask me about the tools that at different roles, what is the return on this tool? What is the return on this tool? And it was just, a light bulb moment of actually the biggest reason you should leverage all voices, for example, right, is because if you don't, it's more the cost of inaction versus the return on action. If
Totally
that
think
makes
that's
sense.
it. I completely makes sense. And I'm constantly challenging, like, now the question becomes prioritizing, right? So how am I going to enable the most important things? And I think early days for this agentic AI workforce enablement team, they're going to be focused on prioritization because it's going to be about what are the biggest problems that we can solve or improve upon to enable the business? Because you could very easily see a world where you get bogged down in the 50-cent ideas instead of
Hmm.
really, how am I really going to drive this business? What are the big ideas? And if I don't fix that, does it really matter if I did the little thing?
Hmm.
Maybe less.
Right. Right. That's great. Do you have, it sounds like you've been doing a ton of experimentation. It seems like I love that you're bonusing people for participating in AI experimentation and leveraging LLMs. Do you have any favorite tools, automations, or stories that has come from all that experimentation that you could share with us?
Yeah. So I'll tell you one quick story and then I'll talk about the tool of right now and the tool that's coming for to my mind. When I first took this role, we had a little bit of a pain point in recruiting where it was just taking us really long to find people and we weren't telling our brand story very well. So we are very focused now on we have to tell our story. We are an incredible company and people need to know who we are for them to be interested in wanting to be part of our community. So I had this recruiting pain point and we were solving it by just throwing bodies at the problem. And I had a friend who had been at Moody's and left, and she learned all about recruiting operations. And she was like, look, you're not leveraging technology. You need HiredScore and Paradox, and you are going to shortcut time to hire. And you're going to also improve the quality of recruiters because instead of sourcing and scheduling interviews, they're going to be focused on understanding the business and finding the talent and telling our brand story. And that's exactly what's happened. So I am a huge Hired Score Paradox fan and also a fan of this woman that I persuaded to rejoin us because we have the tools at our disposal. And now we just need recruiters to get great about understanding our business and telling our story. So that's been win number one. And sort of where I'm looking next, I'm very hopeful that Copilot Studio or something like it is going to enable us to build digital workers within the people team and outside the people team that are going to help us fix other transactional pain points. So right now we do a lot of operational transaction processing. We answer a lot of questions. We answer the same questions lots and lots of times. And the low stakes, low emotion questions, they should be 2-second answers, not, I'll get back to you in a day. And I think agents can do that so that our business people can go back to doing their work instead of worrying about, gosh, how many vacation days do I have? Or what do I need to know about when the next promotion cycle is? And I think that can, if you aggregate it, be huge value unlocks. And I'm very hopeful Copilot Studio is going to help us with that. But right now, we're just
Yes.
teaching everyone.
Yeah, there's so many interesting tools out there that are what I love about some of the other founders I've met that are they're just so focused on like really niche areas. And I think that's appropriate for the time, right? Is instead of trying to automate everything, it's automating one painful process at a time. And I saw that MIT study that was very popular about how the most successful implementations are the ones that are laser focused on one manual, painful business process at a time. So your organization is inspiring. The role that you're hiring, the way that you're approaching this is inspiring. For folks who are listening who might feel a little bit behind, who might feel like, oh, I'm not there yet. I haven't hired a role like this yet. I haven't done as much experimentation as Maral has. Do you have some advice or some last words that you can give to the folks who are listening who want to sort of be at the level that you're at?
Yeah. So I think I'm still a beginner in all disclosure. I think that I'm frankly still a beginner in the world of HR. I was a lawyer a very long time and I am 5 years into my HR journey and I love every minute of it. I think this profession is so important. Bringing sort of to light the importance of humanity and I don't understate that. I think the thing with beginners is you always start by being curious and just jumping in. And I was saying to someone else a couple weeks ago, there's no magic to learning how any of these tools work. It's really just building a habit. So what one of the things I do by requirement. I work in New York City. I live in New Jersey. I commute every day. And as I'm commuting, I will spend 15 minutes of my commute every day, just like working out, playing in Perplexity or Gemini or Grok or um, whatever, Copilot. And I do that with great intention. Whether it's like, build me the schedule for my daughter's dance for 2025, or it's act like a financial advisor and advise someone receiving equity in 6 months on how to best reinvest, whether it's questions that are for my job or for my life, I just play and then I'll challenge myself, right? Like act like a challenger to the advice you just gave. And what would you say are the weaknesses of what you just said? And I'll keep iterating and I start a lot of speeches now with that as my co-writer, and it gets me always to a better outcome. But I also always learn something about, hey, here's where the tool's good and here's where the tool's wobbly or needs to get better. And then it gets me better because I feel like more confident about, okay, that went well today. I'll try something different tomorrow. And just exercising that, even if it's 5 minutes, it's better than 0 minutes. And very quickly you feel like, oh, I've got this. I can do this. Today I was building avatars of, I have an offsite for my team next week. So I was building avatars from pictures from the team in the past. And I was comparing what the different tools look like when they build an avatar because I wanted the least ugly avatars. So I just get out there and play, like we can all act like the 10-year-old in us again and experiment and learn our way through it. And then we have the benefit of we can also read the science under it and rely on partners to teach us. I think it's a big, fun journey. And I'm excited for your listeners to just go out there and try.
Love that attitude. I don't think we could end on a better, more positive, inspiring note than that. So thank you so much for being here today, Maral. I really loved our conversation.
I did too, Emily. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
Wish you
See ya.
continued success. Bye.